Hey everyone, welcome to my review of this season's aspects and fragments. We're going to look at the aspects of each one of the classes. We'll look at hunters first, titans, and then warlocks. And then at the very end, we're going to look at the fragments that are actually, used across each one of the classes. So it doesn't matter, which, class you main, all of the fragments are going to be the same. It's the aspects that really change. All right, here we are with the hunter class, the revenant hunter subclass. Let's look at the aspects that we had previously. So previously we had shatter dive, which if you've been in the crucible, I'm sure you've been frozen, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere this hunter kind of just jumps around the corner and then just comes in and just breaks you into pieces. That's shatter dive. Super powerful when it comes to freezing groups of enemies and then just going in and getting that shattering aspect of it, which obviously then you're getting hit by those shards if you're near it. So while you're in the air, you kind of hit your button to kind of go down really quickly. That process right there is going to be something that allows you to break up anything that's frozen. This aspect I wasn't too much of a fan of. I felt like it was very situational. You had to be really close to enemies, which obviously puts you in danger. But basically anytime that you were close enough to dodge around an enemy, you create kind of like basically a ring of, if they were in that ring, now they're slowed. The only time that I really found this to be effective was I would go in, run in, dodge past enemies, turn around, and then throw a melee back. When I threw my, shurikens back at the enemies, I would freeze them. So having this up allowed me to go kind of be aggressive, dodge through a group of enemies, turn around and throw my melee, which then, would allow me to freeze all of them, come back in and then shatter dive. But this new aspect is called Grim Harvest, which allows us to, if we defeat slowed or frozen combatants, it's going to create these stasis shards, which if you've played Titan at all in the previous season, you would all of a sudden, just damaging these enemies would create these shards for you, and you see them and you're like, what are those? Like when it first happened, I was like, what is getting left on the field? But these shards, as you or your teammates run through and pick them up, it generates melee energy for you, which in like 4 or 5 shards, I believe it is, you're getting a full melee back. So if you're constantly, especially throwing your super and then damaging all of those with this on, creates just a ton of these shards. You throw your melee into them, you're breaking them, you run back in, grab all of the shards, now you've got your melee back. I definitely think it's a very vicious combo to have this on along with the shatter dive. Definitely if you like it, you could always do the Winter Shroud. But for me, it was more important to have that shatter dive, to kind of just frozen enemies quickly get in and just break them apart. Especially if it was like I'm on the move, but I see these targets in front of me, being able to take them out. All right, we have our Titan Behemoth subclass. And so let's go over kind of the stasis aspects that we had previously. And then at the very end, we will get into looking at the fragments for all of the characters, because once again, fragments apply to everybody, whereas the aspects are very specific to the individual classes. So previously, we had Tectonic Harvest, and if you saw the new Hunter aspect, this is going to be very familiar. Basically, shattering anything of a stasis crystal creates a stasis shard. So anytime that you throw your grenade wall down, anytime that you freeze things, this is going to create a stasis shard. Picking that up brings back your melee energy. So getting back your melee energy, while I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the Behemoth melee, it's still great to have that. It's also always fun to like punch somebody into a wall and watch them just flop over and die because you hit them so hard that they did it. Or I've seen some of the stuff where you boot people off of the edge and they can't do anything about it because you hit them so far. So having that melee back anytime that you can have an ability up is always great. Then we had Cryoclasm, which is going to allow you to have a longer and more powerful slide. Super effective, in moving around the map. It allowed you to, obviously slide further. It allowed you to kind of get around corners quickly or get across the map faster. But it also did that function of when you throw down your glacial wall or you have some frozen targets in front of you, you slide into them and it just shatters them and anybody around it gets damaged. I do think that this aspect is going to play in well to the new one that just came out, which is this Howl of the Storm, which says when sliding, you activate a charged melee ability to launch a wave of stasis energy forward that freezes targets and creates stasis crystals. So you're sliding and you're already sliding further. Now you can do this way. And if any of you remember the trailer, this is, I think, what we saw. And when we first got the Titan, we were like, wait, where's that ability to send this wave of energy forward? Well, here we are. Here's that aspect. And they were showing that in the previews, but we just never saw it. So being able to slide, send that wave of energy forward, pop up, slide again, and shatter everybody. I think those two are going to pair very well with each other. And the reason I would, me personally would take this part off is going to be the fact that that melee, it's not great. So sliding gives me a charged melee ability, and then it allows me to launch that wave of stuff forward, and then sliding into them shatters anything and does damage to everything around. So that would be kind of my pair that I would want to run if I was running Behemoth. The melee, it's not great. If we could ever change it, it would be wonderful. Maybe that would bring something back. If we could throw like an ice hammer or something like that, if we get a different melee, I might look at that. But the combination of this thing being so hard to control and so hard to kind of just understand where it's gonna happen. Like you go to swing and it's like a big old whiff when you go past an opponent. It was great to kind of like dodge, but I mean, other than that, it wasn't fantastic. I do think that these two are going to be kind of the way to go with the Howl of the Storm and the Cryoclasm. So now we'll get over to our Warlock and we'll look at the Warlock aspects, and then also we'll look at the fragments for all three characters that are coming out. There's definitely some good ones in there, so we'll want to kind of see the combinations and the pairs that we can roll. And remember that hunters only get 2 fragments, Titans get 3, and Warlocks they actually get 4 because master race. So hey everyone, we are here with the Shadebinder Warlock subclass. We're going to look at kind of the aspects that we had previously, and then we're going to look at the new aspects, and then actually I'm standing at the Exo Stranger right now, so we'll be able to look at all of the new fragments that they have available for this season. So previously we had 2 aspects for the Warlock subclass. The Warlock class. It was Frost Pulse, which is basically casting your Rift is going to create a shockwave that freezes combatants. Always great, in PvP. If you're around a corner and somebody jumps, you throw down your Rift and that freezes them. Kind of helps them, as they're approaching, kind of not get the draw on you. The other one, which I really thought was very strong for the Warlock subclass, I don't know that I'll ever take it off, is this Ice Flare Bolts. Basically, you could throw a snap grenade, and it would seek something, and then it goes and finds another one. And when it does that, it freezes them, and if it freezes them, it goes and finds another one. And so if there's a bunch of enemies all in the thing, anytime that you shatter them or anytime that you hit them with anything that freezes them, you have these little trackers kind of go off. So overpowered in groups of enemies, so overpowered in the Crucible. Freeze the opponent, and now it's looking for something else. And so if 2 guys are standing near each other, this was kind of the death of them. So I definitely think Ice Flare Bolts super strong. New to this season is actually Bleak Watcher. Also just crazy overpowered. It basically turns your grenade into a turret. And so how this works is you're going to charge up your grenade. You hold it until, if you've ever done anything with like the void subclasses where you charge up your grenade and then you kind of like, you have it like holding in your hand and it looks like it's overcharged. If you throw it on the ground, what happens is it forms a turret that just starts shooting at things. And obviously if you have on the, you know, the ice flare bolts, anytime that you freeze something, it sends out trackers to then go and freeze something else. So just ridiculous. It's just crazy to see these ice flare bolts, you know, being able to go out after your turret has frozen them, spread out, and it's just going to take down, you know, groups and groups of enemies. So now fragments are not character specific. They are found on every single character, and so the aspects are what kind of cause the characters to be a little bit different, whereas the fragments are going to be the same for each character class. So this season we have Whisper of Chains, which is when you are near frozen targets or a friendly stasis crystal, you take reduced damage. So if you're in the thick of it, you're jumping down, you're fighting enemies, if your teammate or you are freezing targets, you're going to take less damage. So you're going to be able to stay in that fight a lot longer. A lot of the fragments this season feel like they are specific to being kind of in the midst of things, to you know, down in the trenches, keeping you alive longer or doing more damage longer or getting your melee or your grenade back. So Whisper Chain lets you take less damage. Then we have the Whisper of Torment. This is going to allow you to gain grenade energy each time that you take damage from combatants. So you're down there, you're fighting, you know, you're in the midst of some ads, and all of a sudden you're just getting your grenade back, and you take some more damage, and you're getting your grenade back, but you're also sitting here with the Whisper of Chains on, so you're taking less damage because you're freezing all of these targets around you. So these two seem to pair very, very well with each other. And then now we have Whisper of Fractures. Your melee energy is going to recharge faster when you are near 2 or more combatants. So once again, you're down in the thick of it, or you're surrounded by people in Crucible, you know, it's trials and whatever. All of a sudden you've got your melee back, which you didn't think you were going to get until the next round. This is because you're sitting around there and you're being surrounded by people. So having enemies around you charges that melee back faster. And then you have the Whisper of Impetus. Damaging targets with the stasis melee reloads those stowed weapons and grants you a temporary boost to bringing them out. So you're using your off weapon, you run out of bullets, you know that your other one is not reloaded, so you hit something with your melee, and now that weapon comes up faster for you and also has been reloaded for you. You know, your heavy is reloaded, your, you know, primary is reloaded, you've been using your secondary or your energy weapon and you want to switch back, you hit him with a melee and it's going to bring up that gun faster and then also have it fully reloaded for you. So I'm seeing a lot of synchronizing between these two right here, the Whispers of Chains and Torment, where it's damaging frozen targets but then also taking less damage. So that's going to work really well together. And then you have these Whisper of Fractures and Impetus. You know, damaging things with your melee allows you to reload your weapons, and then you get your melee back by being kind of down in the thick of it. Thanks for watching my videos. I try to get them up as often as I can. Please subscribe, click the like button if you like the video. Really helps the channel, and I appreciate you sticking around to the end. Have a great day.